Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Prospect Macarena for Birds on the Black and for Prospects After Dark. I'm your host. I am Kyle Reis here again on another Sunday night. We have another week worth of minor league action to go over. We have another week of Cardinal baseball action to go over. It seems only appropriate that we talk at some point about the great play of the prospects at the major league level uh, in Juan Yepes and Brendan Donovan. But we'll see how that goes. Again, welcome everybody to the Prospect Macarena. I can see you guys filing in. It's as always a lot of positives throughout the week, a lot of questions throughout the week. I would encourage everyone to again, my DMs during the week are open all of the time. You should feel comfortable to ask me questions that way. But I would also appreciate, if you go into the DMs and ask a question that you don't feel afraid to ask it here on the Prospect Macarena. So again, as you guys come in, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, anything at all that's on your mind about the prospects, please do not hesitate. Like, the reason we do Prospect Macarena is the hope that you guys get more involved, that we can hear your voice, that you actually have a real voice, and then if I answer a question inappropriately, you get a chance to follow it up with a real answer. Before the questions run in, one of the things that I know is going to end up being a hot topic. Everybody's going to talk about Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman hit his 14th home run today, his second of the week, after a couple of not so positive weeks for Nolan Gorman. It's nice to see him starting to bring the power again, to work through some of the struggles that he showed over the last couple of weeks. All positive. Alec Burleson has had a pretty good week. The pitching at Memphis has been pretty good. A great battle between Grayson Rodriguez and Matthew Liberatore and Adley Rushman and Nolan Gorman earlier in the week on the free game of the month or whatever for MILB TV. That was the first home run that Gorman hit earlier in the week. And then, Zach Thompson pitching well at Memphis. Connor Thomas pitched in relief last night, pitched 6 innings in relief. He pitched great last night. A lot of positives down pitching wise at Memphis. Springfield so far. Now, Springfield plays at 6:00 tonight. And so far, Moises Gomez has yet to hit a home run this week. So, kind of surprised for the first week that we don't have a Moises Gomez home run to talk about. I have not watched much of Springfield this week. Chandler Redmond has had a really good week. He had a home run and a double yesterday. I believe he had a home run and a double earlier in the week, too. Just getting you guys caught up. Peoria, it seems like LJ Jones is starting to hit a little bit more. We like that. The middle infield contingent that they have of Jacob Bushberger when he's healthy, but he's on the IL right now, along with what we're seeing out of Mason Wynn and knowing Noah Mendlinger, and now Francisco Hernandez is starting to get kind of hot. It's been a rough go for Peoria. They lost 9 in a row at one point. They finally broke that streak. Here's to hoping that they can get it all together. And, Palm Beach, it's been a rough go for them. No hit earlier in the week. We hate to see that. The hitting just isn't there, but the pitching's been good. Jose Moreno keeps pitching really well. Along with Jose Moreno pitching well, you have Inohan Paniagua pitching extremely well. Again, pitched today, 7 hits, no earned runs, let up a run, handful of strikeouts, a whole lot of positives. So again, I would ask everyone if they have any questions or any thoughts, to please chime in. Otherwise, I'll just ramble for a little bit. You will regret being in here, and, we can all go about our way. I'm excited about tonight. I'm excited for a Cardinals game on a Sunday night. I don't necessarily like Sunday night games, but, it's nice to have Waino back. We'll see how long he goes. I'm sure Drew Verhagen will be on his heels. We'll see about that. I don't know how I feel about that. It's not exactly the most encouraging thing. Drew Verhagen, when he was in his minor league rehab earlier in the week, when he was on his minor league rehab earlier in the week, that curveball looks so good. His breaking stuff looks so good. It's just that his fastball still gets kind of hit even by Double-A. Now, he dominated Double-A over 2 innings, as you would suspect. But it was nothing, it wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so amazing. This is so amazing. Yeah, that's it. But if anybody has any questions, that's what this is supposed to be about, rather than just hearing me ramble. If you want to hear me ramble, I'll just turn this into a prospects after dark before the Cardinal game, and we'll start getting drunk. Yeah, again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to go in that direction. So thank you. G Dub is saving me. We are going to go to our first question from Keeping Secrets, our good friend G Dub. I'm adding him as a speaker, and as it connects, I'll remind G Dub to unmute himself, and I will say, G Dub, it was a pleasure to add your tweet into my article about Moises Gomez that we published over last weekend, bud. How are you, G Dub?
Great, Kyle. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
Hey, so I wanted to ask about a thread that I saw you talking about, comparing between O'Neill and his minor league numbers and Gorman, and specifically like the strikeout rates that we're seeing between the two of them. Is that what's keeping him out of St. Louis right now? Is that like the biggest thing he needs to work on, is that strikeout rate?
I would assume that that's a lot to do with it, right? Fangraphs wrote a great article, and they kind of talked about some of the issues at the plate with Nolan Gorman. One being that specifically this year he appears to maybe have a little bit more trouble hitting fastballs at the minor league level. That's something that I've always written in his write-ups. I think he's so good at hitting breaking pitches, especially when he can get his hands extended, that the fastball is not. It's more of a vulnerability to him than it is for most power hitters, which is part of what makes him a unique power hitter. Of course, the slider or big curveball down and in the zone, which is also kind of unique for a lefty, is also kind of a vulnerability for him. But if you're throwing him anything on the outside corner or on the outside half, that's usually where he does quite a bit of damage. But, I'll remind everybody that after that first storming that he did at Memphis, he had a terrible first week, like a lot of kids did at Memphis. And then to finish out April, he was amazing. And then he's been kind of wishy-washy since the end of April into May, striking out a lot, not hitting as many home runs, not really hitting for much power either. And now he's getting out of it. Like, this is, if people will remember, as the season started, I had one moment where I was like, all right, now it's time to get Nolan Gorman up here. We can't deny this anymore. We can't belay this anymore. Like, we have to be cognizant that this is something special. But before that, I kept saying, I want to see him struggle. Like, let's get him to struggle and let's see him work his way out of it. Because the first struggle of the season is easier to get through when you're at AAA than when you're in the majors. And, he's a big, strong, smart kid. It's not like he's going to come up to the majors, and if he ends up having to get sent down right away, it's going to demoralize him and crush him, and he's not going to be able to rebound from it. That's not going to be the case. He's going to be able to rebound from it. But it just seemed like the ideal situation would be to let him have a struggle and work through it at AAA before he became a real viable option at the major leagues. Now, that says nothing about his defense. The thing that I keep telling people about Nolan Gorman's defense so far this year is that, in my mind, it's definitely better than where it was for maybe the first half of the 2021 season as he was transitioning from third to second. But I don't think it's as good as it was at the end of the 2021 season. He just seems a little extra clunky, a little more hesitant, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, hesitant's probably the best word for it. He doesn't seem as fluid or as comfortable in his motions to me, and because of that, I think all of that goes into it. But aside from all of that, I also think that we can look at the Cardinals and their history over the last X amount of times. And I know that people think that there's a service time thing here. I don't believe that there is. I think that there's definitely, like, obviously the longer he stays down there, the less of a chance he has of finishing first or second in an NL Rookie of the Year award voting, which would, eat up 1 year of service time. But he's already passed like the Super 2 stage. We all feel pretty comfortable about that. Usually Super 2 is at like the end of April, depending on when the season starts, since the season started a little bit later. We're probably at least a week, 10 days, maybe even further away than that. So it's not service time in that way. There might be something in there about the NL Rookie of the Year vote. I personally don't think it is, but I bring all that up. I segue to all of that because the point I was going to make is that the Cardinals have kind of been a pecking order organization. They have a guy on the 40-man. That guy on the 40-man gets a chance. And if that guy on the 40-man hasn't gotten a chance yet, they're going to get a chance. And I'm happy that Brendan Donovan is getting a real chance. I don't understand why he's not getting a real chance at second, and I don't understand why Tommy Edman isn't playing short. But even, it's a rare situation there because even Donovan has jumped Sosa here. And that usually doesn't happen, but it's all about timing. Donovan comes up, Sosa's hurt, and the rhetoric coming from the organization was when Edmundo Sosa comes back, then he'll get the chance to be the everyday shortstop. Well, Cardinals aren't hitting. The only people that are hitting are the rookies, Yepez and Donovan, and then the all-stars, Goldschmidt and Arenado, along with Edman in there. So Donovan gets a real run. He gets a real chance. And again, this is a question about Nolan Gorman, but to me, the bottom line is we know that being a DH full-time or mostly full-time for a player with this profile, with as few minor league at-bats as him, it will not suit him well. It won't suit him well as to get mostly DH at-bats. He's not Juan Yepez. He doesn't have that skill set. So we know it'll be tough on both his offense and his defense in the long run to be in this position. So I think all of that plays into it. I think timing plays into it. I think the options at the major league level come into it. And I think that he's just not hitting. When there was a chance to go to him, he just wasn't hitting the way he was the week before. And it was with a lot of strikeouts. So I really do think timing comes into it as much as it is the things that he has to work on. And also available roster spots at the major league level. But it is definitely frustrating to watch him hit monster home runs at the major league or at the minor league level at AAA when the major league offense is sputtering so much. G-Dub, I know that I just ranted on for like 10 minutes. My good friend, do you have any other thoughts or any other questions? Is there anything else on your mind?
So I was actually going to follow up with saying, Edman and Nato obviously aren't going anywhere, and those are his two primary positions. With the Boats and Morosi thing coming out, do you actually see maybe them taking a chance and trading Gorman? So since he seems to be blocked and he is playing so well, is turning him into a shortstop would look pretty nice.
Yeah, I have a tendency to think that won't happen. Somebody asked me about it in the DMs and both in the DMs and on my timeline. And my first thought was to laugh and say, "Oh, we're doing the Jurickson Profar for Oscar Tavares thing again." The question I think specifically was about Nolan Gorman for Royce Lewis. I had somebody in my DM or asking me today about could the Cardinals potentially use Gorman or Walker to acquire CJ Abrams from the Padres? And these are just the kind of trades that don't happen, right? Organizations, they see their guys. They know their guys. They know their guys better than guys on other teams. And that's why, that's part of the reason why you usually use prospects to trade for position players or, established major leaguers, because that's where a lot of the question mark about the player kind of goes out the window. So I personally do not see it. I'll also remind everybody, and I don't mean to beat on Jim Bowden. He's got a television show on the MLB Network. He's a quote-unquote insider. He writes. But I would also remind people that this is about the time of year every year where he writes an article to get attention. And again, we all do it. But this is usually the time of year where he'll just write an article. He knows that Cardinal fans in particular are, usually a little bit extra engaging for this. And that keeps his name relevant. So I would remind people that whenever you hear Jim Bowden and he's talking about trade proposals, that there's some showmanship there as much as there is any type of insider information. And then with Mr. Morosi, like he's a little bit more wired in, but he's not Rosenthal. He's not, honestly, I know Derek Gould gets a lot of hate around here, but pay attention to Gould. Gould has his own like Mo speak when he's talking about people and talking about players and talking about trades. He has his own Mo speak when it comes to it, where once you get used to it, you can kind of see what he's saying. Anyways, there are even Heyman, like although there are better options nationally passing than Bowden and Morosi. It seems like those two guys in particular deal with a lot of speculation. To your question about maybe an established shortstop for Gorman, I don't see it. I just know the Cardinals. It doesn't seem to me. Brett Wallace was a whole different thing, and many years ago. but it just doesn't seem to me that that's the kind of move that the Cardinals would make with a prospect that they care so much about in Nolan Gorman, even with the position block that is Edman. Now, it's also worth noting that while Brendan Donovan has done an admirable job playing shortstop, Tommy Edman is back to taking reps at shortstop in practice. And I think that probably tells us more about the situation than anything. And I also still think that there's a really good chance that in a week, even though fans will hate it, Paul DeJong, he's working on some mechanical stuff. Paul DeJong will be hitting. And in 2 weeks, Paul DeJong will be back up at the major league level before Gorman. And that'll be a whole nightmare, too, from a PR standpoint. But, I would say right now, it's not Gorman who I could see them moving if they wanted to upgrade the shortstop spot. I would suspect it'd be, some of their immediate left-handed pitching depth and some of their outfield depth, depending on who those outfielders are. What do you think, G-Dub? You have any thoughts, bud? You're muted again. There you go.
That's all I got, man. Thanks. As far as trading folks, as long as they don't trade Jordan Walker, whatever. That guy needs to play for St. Louis.
Yeah, and I'll kind of take it from there. Again, if anybody has any questions, we love questions. The whole thing about the Prospect Macarena is that it's a prospect Q&A, and G-Dub here has asked a great question. We have somebody else who just requested, but I've been asked a lot about and chill. Cool, that's exciting. But I've been asked a lot about Jordan Walker and his timing. And, he only has 3 home runs, only has a handful of doubles. It's all coming, and it's all coming right now, which is really exciting. And, if I'm going to give a quick timeline on Jordan Walker, I'm probably going to say whenever it seems like we're at the point with such a special talent, even though he's at AA, even though there are other people in the pecking order, that I think that there's a real chance that, he's knocking on the door at the end of this season, barreling through the door after spring training next year. G-Dub, my friend, anything else for you, bud?
That's all I got, Kyle. Thanks, brother.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm removing you from speaker, and then I'm going to go to next in line, which is Jean Ralphio, Jersey Garbo. Jersey Garbo, I am making sure that I added you as a speaker. You'll have to unmute yourself, and I would really love to hear your question, my friend. You'll have to unmute yourself. It's probably down at the bottom there where it says mic is on. Yeah. What you got?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me be a speaker, and glad to be here. This is my first one that I'm attending, so this is great to actually be a part of.
Awesome.
My question is we've had a lot of people have been getting a lot of attention. Moises Gomez, obviously Gorman, Jordan Walker, Liberatore. And I just found out today that Ivan Herrera is putting together a sneaky good season at the plate in AAA. This is the first time I had seen his name pop up in a good minute, so I was surprised to see that. And my question is, from what you've seen, how does he look behind the plate defensively? How comfortable does he look? Is there a chance maybe when the rosters expand at the end of the year that we see him come up and get a little time with the major league club? I just want to know your thoughts on that in general.
It's a great question, man. Again, thank you for being here and thank you for taking part in it. I will say that I've been, he's hitting like 290 or 294 right now. And he did that sneakily. He got off to such a bad start. He looked uncomfortable at the plate. He was striking out a lot. Working counts deep, but it's nice to see him regain some of that. So, yes, in the last month, he has been great. He's been hitting the ball all over the place. He's been slugging the ball, hitting it over the fence. And I will say, and again, I am trying to be as candid about this as possible. I am at my worst when I am evaluating catchers. It's the position that is just so far advanced. So I have to go to my guys in the organization and find out what they think about him. Just like with Kisner, there's some bad online metrics for him, but the internal metrics on Kisner, a defenseman, are really good. Things like that. So what I'll say is what I've always been impressed with Ivan Herrera behind the plate is that he has a really strong arm. He pops quick. It's like he usually lives between like 175 and 198, somewhere between there, depending on what he's getting at. And he has a direct throwing motion. He frames the ball pretty well, maybe even better than any other catcher in the organization, low in the zone. He does that, like, he definitely has some Yachty in him on breaking pitches high. You know how Yachty doesn't even frame those pitches? He just kind of like rakes them down. Herrera does that. He's a little clunky on the corners to lefties and righties on the outside, quarter of the plate. He's a little clunky there. But he's a tough kid. He will sacrifice his entire body to keep a ball in front of him. He moves better to his right than he does to his left, which surprises me. For being a right-handed thrower, I feel like a lot of catchers are the other way. But it makes sense. You would rather have it that way since there are more right-handed hitters than there are left-handed hitters. So I would say that Ivan Herrera is putting himself in a really great position to get some time next year when he and Andrew Knizner are both at the major league level. I would remind everybody when we get to September call-ups that they're back to only calling up 2 people, in September. So instead of it being like you can call up anybody who's on your 40-man, they're still doing that, and that'll probably be what it's like moving forward. And I think that makes it a little bit more difficult to predict having a third catcher up at the major leagues. Now, they could do it, depending on what it looks like, depending on how healthy Yachty is and how Kiz is hitting. Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's an outside chance that happens. I don't think it's likely, but, we'll see how the 40-man's shaking out. We'll see who's healthy, and we'll see where the need is. But he's doing everything right now to put himself in a position to compete at the major league level for the starting job or a fraction or a portion of the starting job in the 2023 season. And that's, I remind people that as young as Nolan Gorman is, Ivan Herrera is 1 month younger than Nolan Gorman. He's still 21. I believe he doesn't turn 22 until the 1st of June or maybe the 1st of July, sometime around there. But yeah, like he's doing everything that you could hope a catcher would do at his age, at his level, that you could absolutely hope for. And one last thing I'll say is just to remind everyone that catchers usually take a little bit longer. Like I feel like between Carson Kelly and Andrew Knizner, even reading reports on catching prospects from other organizations, there's almost like they take a step back, even if they get playing time, which, Knizner and Kelly didn't. But there's almost like a lot of catchers when they get to the major leagues because of the grueling nature of that position, they almost take like a full step back before they finally find their footing. So even if he's at the major league level next year, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some struggle, even if he's, playing 40% of the time and Kiz is playing 60% of the time. It's just kind of like with a lot of these guys, it's going to take a little time to really understand just how good Ivan Herrera has the capability of being. I know that's a long way, and you're muted again, Jean Ralphio. But does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-ups?
That definitely answers my question, and that was my only one that I had coming into this. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It means the world to me that you were here. I'm glad that you participated. Before I'm going to remove you from a speaker. Before I go to N-Chill, Nicholas Childress, I also want to say that one of the most impressive things about watching Ivan Herrera catch, just like with Zade Richardson, like they're 2 really tough kids. I mean, they take a beating back there, and they just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And the other thing about his hitting profile that I wanted to say is he'll use all fields. That's part of what makes Ivan Herrera really intriguing. He'll dump that single over the second baseman's head. He's not as all fields as Knizner was in the minor leagues, but when it's time, and he'll work a count to 2 strikes, when it's time, he'll just go with the pitch. Ivan Herrera is exciting. He's doing some really good things. My good friend N-Chill, I'm adding you, Nicholas Childress, N-Chill 17. He got his handle back. Nick, I'm adding you. You're ready to speak, but you got to unmute your mic. Nick, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kyle?
Oh my God, you sound great.
Thank you. First things first, I wanted you to hear me open this truly.
Oh, what kind?
But then second of all, my question was, I know you spoke on Jordan Walker a little bit already, but I was just really kind of wondering like what the details of how he's improved and how he's kind of like, you said he's kind of just, I think you said he's getting more back into his power right now.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately now live in Columbia and I haven't been to go to Springfield go to the Hammons Field every day like I used to. But I think that's just kind of like, I just want to know a little bit about what Jordan Walker's up to.
What Truly are you drinking?
I got the, let's see here. We got the classic lime margarita style.
Have you had all, not to completely blow this conversation up, but have you had all the margaritas? The guy at the liquor store, I got the poolside, the 12, or what is it? The 16 pack poolside Truly's this weekend, and the guy was like, "You got to try the margaritas; they're awesome."
I actually haven't even tried this one yet.
Well, you try it, and I'll ramble on for 6.5 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
And when I get back to you, you can tell me how it
It'll
is.
be gone by then.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, you'll be on to the other flavor of margarita I'll want the answer to. So, what I've noticed with Jordan Walker is early on in his AA tenure, it was just as much about feeling out how he was being pitched and just keeping his swing in the zone and letting the bat and his bat speed and his natural abilities do the work. It's why most of the hits that he was recording were to the opposite field. He wasn't pulling a lot. And if he was pulling it, it was a lot of stuff on the ground. And throughout all that, pitchers were really delicate with him. I've heard a lot of people talk about, it's really impressive. His OPS is above 900, which is good, and it's true. But his on-base percentage was partially there. And this is a testament to his reputation, because even AA hitters were not messing with him. Even with Moises Gomez raking, they were not messing with him. He was not getting a lot of competitive pitches to do much with. And if he was keeping his bat in the zone, keeping his mechanics true, and he was just pushing the ball to the opposite field. A lot of dunkers, some gap shots between the center fielder and the right fielder. But he was just feeling out the league. And what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is those balls to the opposite field are getting hit a little bit harder. But like we saw earlier in the week, we're seeing him turn on pitches, not just fastballs or curveballs, or he's starting to turn on pitches and swing with a little bit more authority. And what his swing is kind of like engineered for. It's not to necessarily pull the ball all the time. It's kind of a line drive swing, kind of that old traditional, easy, smooth, little bit of a what olds call the launch angle swing, but not a lot, where it's supposed to be kind of a line drive up the middle. And that's why he takes a lot of the stuff in the middle of the plate to the opposite field. That's just the nature of his beautiful, easy, lacking in complexity swing. So that's what we've seen more than anything. It's just, you can see him get more comfortable with that advanced level. And the fact that he was able to, in the process of being treated delicately by some really impressive pitching prospects in other organizations, not expand his zone. I think that says everything that we need to say about the type of hitter from a maturity standpoint that he is. And now he's adding that pull slug along with the bat speed and the swing that comes with being confident and like fully aware of one's abilities at an advanced level. And Chill, I need updates.
No, it's gone. Yeah, I chugged it right after I hung up.
That's so good. So what? And then we got the update. And now, what do you have a follow up? Any other thoughts?
Well, I was gonna say that sounds like really cool to see, because it's like, I feel like a lot of the prospects that come up nowadays, and it's just the way baseball's played, is just, it's so much swing and miss, and you don't see a ton of people that really just try to like send the ball to the other way. This might just be me. I mean, I'm 27, so I'm not a boomer, but I do have a little bit of, I guess, boomer baseball opinions when it comes to just swinging as hard as you can and not working the walks and stuff, just because that's what I was taught when I played baseball. But I was gonna say, like, that's really dope to see. I did have another question though. If nobody else is in line, I don't want to cut.
No, we have one other person in line, Luke, with a registered trademark, who was actually in my DMs a little while ago, and I think I know what question he's going to ask. But Nick, if you got something, throw it out there.
Okay, so I was going to ask, really, what is the ceiling for Juan Yepez? I know you don't like doing ceiling or player comparison and stuff like that, but that dude looks like he can literally. I mean, I know he hasn't really experienced a drought in the majors yet, which is always something that everyone goes through, because nobody's Mike Trout. But it's like what can that guy be?
Yeah, I think to be lazy, and it's something I've kind of been saying a little bit since 2019. Because remember, in 2019, he started at extended spring training. Things looked kind of bleak for him, but he kind of readjusted his approach and his mentality. And then it was at the end of 2019 when he was at Springfield when we saw him start to like really clobber the ball and with some good exit velocity. But I feel like since then, because of his approach and again, this is super lazy, and people keep bringing it up, which probably makes it true, is I think that there's a realistic chance that if he can stay healthy, then he might be the version of Alan Craig that we hoped would stay healthy for a very long time. Now, there are serious defensive questions and serious base running questions with Juan Yepez. He doesn't have that, like, he has the natural instincts, but he doesn't have the same natural instincts as someone like Alan Craig had. Which, is going to get him in trouble. He might be more of a Matt Carpenter-esque base runner, and we know Carp would get into trouble sometimes. But I think at the plate, because he doesn't carry at bat, he doesn't carry like the struggle from at bat to at bat. He can kind of rebound and regroup. I think that there's a realistic chance that, if you take Alan Craig's average as a St. Louis Cardinal and multiply that by 2 years-wise, instead of having 2.5 decent seasons or whatever it was, I think you're talking about a player who's going to have 4 to 6 really good offensive years, similar to, hitting 270, 280, getting on base 260 or 360, 370 with, a 500-ish slug, 20 home runs and, 25 doubles in there, if not more. I think he'll be limited by his speed. I think some doubles are going to be held to singles. But yeah, like I think that is the version of Juan Yepez that we were seeing, and that's part of the reason why I wanted him to break with the club. It's part of the reason why, even though he struggled during spring training, and he was just starting to come out of it when the Cardinals signed Pujols, I was bummed about it because I felt like he was ready for a breakout, and I didn't feel like a minor league assignment would do him or the Cardinals any good. But I'm wrong about that because it gave him a chance. He got hit in the head in spring training, and it gave him a chance to work through that at Memphis, to get comfortable and work through that at Memphis. And that it's all worked out so far. So I can't complain or bitch about it the way that I would like.
Nope, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I mean, I feel like I saw the comparisons in swing and stuff like that. That I don't know exactly who made it, but I saw a tweet comparing their swings even, and I was like, just their stances kind of look similar between him and Craig.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any more thoughts, but I did want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
And it is that Ryan Helsley is a beast.
Awesome, bud. Awesome. I think that's the one F word we're allowed on this, but we'll take it.
Sorry.
No, well, I love it. You're right. Those horse thighs of his are really paying off right now, aren't they?
Yeah, for real.
All right, Anchel. Well, it's a pleasure to hear you. Enjoy the Truly. Let me know how the other margarita versions of it are. I'm gonna remove you from speaker.
All right, it was good talking to you.
Nice to talk to you too, bud. And then we're gonna go to Luke, who is at _Luck_. Luke, you'll have to unmute yourself, and I'll say hello, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Oh man, it's a pleasure to have you here.
So yeah, I took a break from my work here to come and ask you about Trey Fletcher, who I was not a big fan of the pick back in the day, but he actually kind of showed some of the tools that some people thought in 2019. But coming out of 2020, 2021, I have a friend that used to be on the Palm Beach Cardinals. I live 5 minutes from the stadium, and he didn't exactly have glowing reports on his attitude. And now he's off to an impressively bad start to the year. Over 16 strikeouts, which is insane. What do you think about where he's going forward?
Yeah, it's tough. The first thing I want to say is, any kid who starts off 0 for anything with strikeouts matching the at-bat total, and when you start getting into the teens specifically, like, man, it's a historically bad start, and it's sad is what it is, especially because there's all the hype around him and, all of that talent and all of that skill and all of that athleticism. What I will say is, most people will be able to tell from my Twitter history that I was not the biggest fan of that pick either. What I will say also is I understand taking that selection. I never thought that he was the rumor. He entered the draft early that year. He was supposed to be eligible for the 2020 draft declared early so he could be eligible for 2019. Some people thought he might be a top 5 or top 10 pick, maybe even the top pick in 2020 had he stayed. I never saw that. I saw a very athletic kid who had just never played against, top. Well, he did, and he was impressive in some of those showcases, so that's not true. But I just saw so much raw dough that didn't feel complete to me, and it seemed like he would have to take a hell of a journey to become a player. So I understand you and I are kind of in the same boat there, being about maybe scratching our heads. But I also want to say again that I understand. I understand, especially for a team like the Cardinals, that a second round pick is a tough pick to kind of just like give away this way if Trey Fletcher never gets it together. But when you're drafting between picks, 15 and 25 every year, or, more realistically, 18 and 23, you have to take some shots. And I appreciate that they took a shot with Trey Fletcher. And it's a bummer that it hasn't worked out yet. It's not fair for me to speak about his attitude. I've heard all kinds of things, not just about his attitude, but his work ethic. And it's funny, depending on who you talk to, you get a different answer about it. So I'll try to stay away from that because, I'll remind everybody that we're talking about he's 21. We're talking about a 21-year-old kid here, or maybe even 20. He's, a kid in his early 20s who, it's just not clicking for him. And I think the fact that he started off once again away from a full season affiliate tells us that maybe the Cardinals, it doesn't tell us, but it suggests to us rather that the Cardinals probably felt the same way, that he just wasn't where they wanted him to be, or even where he needs to be, or where they needed him to be. Again, not to keep going back to it, but I don't want to beat up on the poor kid, but 0 for 16 is as bad as it gets. I'm bummed that I haven't got to watch it. When I talk to some people, they say it's looked ugly too. I just remind everybody, again, 21-year-old kid, 20, however old he is. I'm sorry to keep messing it up. I should just look it up. But, you're talking about a kid who is still coming into his own adulthood, who still has years ahead of him, potentially, who, granted, it's as bad now as it could possibly be. But we all still need to be very patient and give him a chance to grow into his adulthood a little bit. And hope that with this struggle at an affiliated level, if he does have an attitude issue, if he does have a work ethic issue, that he'll understand now that he's really, really struggling, now that he is kind of failing, that something needs to change. And it might not be something, it might be some things. And hopefully he's learning that lesson and applying it moving forward. Baseball's the game of failure. Even the good players suck when you think about it. Some are just better at sucking than others. And I think that it doesn't look good right now. I think that it probably isn't going to be good moving forward. But I've seen crazier things happen with players like Oscar Mercado and Pete Kozma. And I'm just hopeful that he's learning from whatever mistakes he's making right now. Luke _Luck_, do you have any thoughts or any additional questions, follow up, anything?
Yeah, I liked a lot what you said about the Cardinals can take a chance on kids like that in that round because also they do really well college picks in that 10 to 3 range.
Yeah.
For like another one, I went to some spring training practices, and Mason Wynn, by the way, is an absolutely incredibly fun IO to watch. He's special at shortstop. And another one I had a question was, what do you think of Tink Hence?
Yeah, the reports on Tink Hence right now are super positive, and I'm kind of anxious or surprised that he hasn't made it to Palm Beach yet. He dealt with some arm issues last year, so I think they're just being a little extra cautious with Tink. But other than the fact that he's still very, very lean, all of the reports are glowing and positive about Tink. Again, I keep calling him Tink. I want to make a point to call him Markevian because I love the name Markevian. I think it's badass, really. But yeah, apparently his command's been really good. His fastball's been up in the high 90s, if not more than that. And he's showing really great command and really great repeatability. So my hope is, I like Tink substantially more than I like Edwin Nunez. Edwin Nunez has found his way back to Palm Beach. He didn't start there this year, but he finished there last year. I think I think that's an indication that we're probably going to see Tink Markevian in Palm Beach probably, within the next month, is my guess. And I cannot wait to see it or get reports on it or whatever. Hopefully the Palm Beach Cardinals Twitter feed is providing us with video of it so that we can see it. But yeah, look, everything that we've heard so far has been super positive. I think the Cardinals are just being a little extra careful with him because of maybe some of the arm issues or that he dealt with last year.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate it. I'm gonna keep up the good work. I'm gonna keep following the gifts.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I really appreciate you coming in here.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna remove you from speaker. Again, say thank you one more time. I'm gonna go to Nick, who's at holy_Schilt, and I just want to say that Gray Bush, Old Soul 314, you're gonna be up next. So we're gonna go to Nick. We're gonna add holy_Schilt, and we're gonna tell him his microphone is muted. He needs to unmute. And then our good friend Holy Schilt are going to ask us a question, probably about Trevor's story.
That is not what I was going to ask, actually. But what do you think about that? Do you think Trevor Story should sign on a 1-year prove-it deal with us? I mean, Paul DeYoung's in the minors.
Jesus Christ. What you got?
All right. So last time we talked, I asked who was next, and you answered with, I'm pretty sure, Brendan Donovan and Jake Walsh. So tell me who's next and tell me why it's not going to be Nolan Gorman.
It's going to be Aaron Brooks. No, it's, I don't know what to expect. My guess would be that it's Nolan Gorman. And again, I'm just trying to think it over. I just doing deductive reasoning. I don't think it's going to be an outfielder. So that means that and again, the Cardinals roster is at 40, but with the Alex Reyes news today, and even the ability to put Reyes, and then the ability to put Jack Flaherty on the 60-day, which they could and probably wouldn't interfere with his rehab time at all. They have ways of getting players on. I don't think it's going to be an outfielder, so I don't think it's going to be Burleson. I'm trying to think of the 40-man. They've pretty much called up all of their 40-man options. I think there's probably a good chance that if you're talking about guys at the minors now who might make it to the majors, I mean, Jake Woodford, who's only been down there for 60 minutes, him. But if we're talking about guys that haven't made a major league debut, I think at this point, since everybody's getting healthy, now that Drew Verhagen is back, I don't see a clear spot for a starter. I don't think they'd add a starter for one start. I don't think it's going to be Johan Oviedo if they need an arm. So the question becomes, is it going to be Nolan Gorman, or is it going to be one of the left-handed pitchers who aren't on the 40-man roster? And to me, unless TJ McFarland is just so bad in this next week, 2 weeks, and even then, that ends up being Packy Naughton's job more than likely, or Tyler Webb or Tyler Lyons, whatever version of the lefty you want to call him. The current Tyler Lyons, Packy Naughton, and Tyler Webb, Packy Naughton. I think that depending on how things go with Brendan Donovan playing short and Edmundo Sosa playing short and Tommy Edman continuing to field balls and practice at short, I definitely think that barring any serious injury, the next call-up is almost certainly Nolan Gorman, especially if this week is any indication and he's worked through some of his struggle and he's starting to get hot again. That's my thought. I will say that if they do get aggressive with one of the lefties, the one that I want to see is Zach Thompson. I think his fastball and his curveball in particular could help the major league club right now. And the fact that I'm even saying that is awesome. And not only saying that, but that I mean that is awesome. And, that's because he's older now. He's 25 or right at 25. I could envision a situation in which that would work out and it would work out well. And I think that it wouldn't hurt them to be aggressive, getting him on the 40-man and getting him to the majors. And even if it is only in a relief role, similar to what Genesis Cabrera was, that's the one that I want to see. And you guys know that up until now, I've been a big pro Connor Thomas. It's been kind of a rough couple starts before his relief appearance last night, where he struck out 11 in 6 innings. But right now in my mind, the one that I want to see, no disrespect to Matthew Liberatore, is Zach Thompson. I just want to see what would happen, what it would look like, because that fastball is super lively. The curveball, from what I understand, it's got its RPMs back, it's got its velocity back. Again, it's not it's not like, again, there was that article that whoever it was sent to me where it was like him and Liberatore, both Thompson and Liberatore, had like a 44 grade on stuff because somebody measured like 77 pitches or something like that. I can tell you the Cardinals have a different grade on it. And I can also tell you from Saris that Liberatore's in particular is like 104 or 108, whatever it was, from a stuff plus standpoint. And I know that just below that, maybe I want to say about 18 points, or what is it? Yeah, no, it was 10 points at like a 95 is Zach Thompson. So these are all positive things, positives. But yeah, I know that's a big, long rant. But yeah, I think we're kind of at the point now where the next prospect to get added to the 40 who hasn't made a major league debut, I think we're at that point now where we're starting to talk about Nolan Gorman. But my last thought is, let's all rejoice in how productive Brendan Donovan has been, and being productive when he finally gets at bats while playing a position that he's hardly ever played. And I think that should tell everyone in Cardinal Nation that they have a player on their hands. The Cardinals have a real life player on their hands. And it's an easy thing to default to in Greg Garcia and Daniel Descalso and, Ryan Terrio if you want to. But I've always believed, and I still believe, that Brendan Donovan is a little bit more than that. Whatever level it is that's above a utility player that you end up getting annoyed with 3 years later. So that's it, Nick. What else you got, bro?
I was actually going to ask. You brought up McFarland, and then you brought up Thompson. Is there any concern on your part that Zach Thompson's going to be misused as like maybe some loogie type pitcher?
Oh yeah, I'll be honest with you. Right now, I feel like whenever I have a conversation with anybody on Twitter about prospects, there's all this talk about service time manipulation, and there's all this talk about, getting them up here now. And I feel like they've never manipulated service time. What they've done is screwed up how they use players when they get to the major leagues. That's what I feel. I heard somebody say when we were talking about Juan Yepes, like they were saying, oh, you could have brought him up at the end of last year and he could have got a couple of at-bats or blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. They did that. They did that in the past. They've done that with Jag and Randy Arozarena, and none of them play. Juan Yepes was added to the 40-man. He was on the roster for the wild card game. But don't call the kids up if you're not going to play them. And I'm not saying that they need to be starting every day, but when you get 12 at-bats in 10 days or 10 bats in 12 days, or that Lane Thomas treatment, and again, Lane's turned out to be very little, but the Lane Thomas treatment where he got 27 at-bats in 40 days or something like that, the Cardinals have a history of kind of misutilizing their prospects. Think about all the middle infielders. Tommy Edman, who plays short and second base for the majority of his time at the minors, gets called up and he plays third. Paul DeYoung, who was a catcher that transitioned into a third baseman, who they moved to short, gets called up to the majors, and he starts games at second base, a position that he had hardly ever played. There's a history the Cardinals have now. And then Tommy Edman playing the outfield when he only has 16 innings in the outfield. The Cardinals now have a history of misutilizing their prospects. And so, yeah, I think it's less likely with pitchers than it is with hitters, because I think that they use their pitchers and they use their pitchers and they use their pitchers. But it depends on what their MO is with Thompson, just like it depends on what their MO is with Andre Palante. Because if they're just going to do this where they bring him up and they have no chance, he has no real chance of starting. If he gets the Genesis Cabrera treatment, if he gets the Ryan Helsley treatment, then yeah, they're probably doing them a favor because they're getting a major league paycheck, but they're probably suppressing wages in the long run. Even though it's not suppressing, they're just trying to get as much value from those players as possible at the major league level when they need it. But they're between that and, hurting the long-term depth at the major league level, they're doing a disservice to the players and the team. Because right now, if they just would have been a little bit more forward thinking with Ryan Helsley and Jordan Hicks and Genesis Cabrera, and not to say all three of those guys or any three of them would have been able to be a starting pitcher at a high quality at the major league level. I think we're seeing now just how good Jordan Hicks can be. And I think that we would see something similar out of Ryan Helsley specifically. But I just think now here we are with a shortage of starting pitchers, and we've been there kind of now for 3 years. When you think about the shortened 2020 season, what last year was, and I just think that they're doing everyone a disservice in the long run with how they're, shoehorning really talented starting pitchers into a relief role early and not giving them the chance to make the next step like they would in the past with guys like Adam Wainwright, who would start in the bullpen and then get a chance to start. So, yeah, look, I am very much concerned that barring injuries or barring retirements, that all of the kids that the Cardinals call up, they're going to misuse, because we actually have more of a track record of that than we have of anything else.
So what you're saying is Gorman's going to get called up and he's going to play like left field or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Honestly, like left field or right field, I could definitely see that. Especially if Brendan Donovan keeps playing the way that he's playing and Tommy Edman keeps hitting the way that he's hitting, like that smells more like a Cardinal move to me than anything. I think they're smart enough to realize that they're going to do damage to Gorman if he's just, getting at bats against righties as a left-handed DH. They're not even doing that with Juan Yepes, who could probably handle it. He's even playing out in the field probably more than he should. So I would imagine he's going to get at bats, and I would imagine they'll do that exactly, getting at bats in the corner outfield.
All right, that's all I got.
Awesome. Hey, that was awesome. The great questions, Holy Schilt. Great questions. I'm going to say thank you to you one more time.
Thank you. Eat Arby's.
Eat Arby's, brother. Eat Arby's. I'm removing you from speaker, and then we are going to Graybush314 at Old Soul 314. I'm adding you as a speaker, and I'm going to say that this is probably our last question. We've got a Cardinal game in about a half an hour. And Gray Bush, it's up to you, my friend. What up, bro?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So my question actually goes into what you're just talking about. Where do you see Jordan Walker playing when he gets up to the major leagues? And are you surprised he hasn't been moved to the outfield yet?
Yeah, this is a great question, and it's a question that I've been asked a lot in my DMs this week in particular. Now that we're starting to see Walker slug the ball a little bit more. I don't think there's any. I guess the best way to handle it is to say that I don't think there's any reason right now to move him off of third base. I think that he's at that delicate stage where he's at Double-A. He's so young for the level, and we just want him to be at a position, playing a position in the field where he's comfortable, so we can continue to hone his skills at the plate at such a tough level. I believe, from what I've seen out of that young man, even though he struggled at third base, and even though I disagree with his family and his former coaches about his ability to play short, I believe that he is athletic enough and smart enough and committed enough that he could, say theoretically he makes it to AAA this year, he only plays third base. Say that even at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, he goes to spring training, or at the end of this year, I think he's athletic enough that he could start tomorrow in a corner outfield and be fine. It gets a little different when you talk about older players, but I believe that his youth actually serves him in this respect, because I feel like, especially him, because he's so smart, I feel like he'll take to the assignments and requirements of a corner outfield position in particular without issue. So to me, I just want him to be where he's comfortable right now. And I want to remind myself over and over again that he's still 19 at a very difficult level. And sure, his long-term future isn't at third. We say that. We don't know what's going to happen with Nolan Arenado. He could end up opting out after winning an MVP, which would certainly price him out of the Cardinals range. And then we're talking about a Gorman issue. We're talking about a Walker issue. We're talking about a Brendan Donovan or an Edmundo Sosa issue at third. But more than likely, that's not going to happen. And because of that, it doesn't seem like the future is at third base for Jordan Walker. And but again, he's got the arm, he's got the athleticism, he's got the speed to do well in a corner and maybe even learn a little bit of first base in the process. But I'd remind everybody, at least from my vantage point, that as good as Nolan Arenado is at third base, what we've seen out of Paul Goldschmidt at first base these last couple of years is every bit as good, as not better. So just because he's turning 35, it's not time to he's 35 now, he's going to DH and we'll just give first base to the kid. Not to say that's what you're saying, because you aren't, but trust me, that's been in my DMs. It's been in my messages for the last couple of weeks. And this gives me a chance to get my hatred for that question off my chest. That part of the question. So, what you have a follow up? Any thoughts?
How high is Mason Wynn's ceiling?
Oh God, it's special. I don't expect him. Now for being as small as he is, he has a tremendous amount of strength built into that body, and we know he has really great bat speed. So we know that there's that specialness there. I don't think he'll ever be, a 15 home run guy. I know with this baseball, he won't ever be a 10 home run guy, but I think that all of the intangibles, his ability to play defense, his arm, his speed, his natural instincts, his aggressiveness. Again, that I say his natural instincts. Like the kid just understands baseball. He knows what he can get away with, and he gets away with a lot. He has that extra sense that elite baseball players have. So I don't expect there ever to be, more than 10 home run power. But I could definitely envision a situation in which he's doing everything else at honestly at like a 70 grade. 70 grade speed, 70 grade defense, 80 grade arm. He has the best infield arm. And I could envision a situation in which his hit and contact tool gets up to like a 50, 60, if not starts touching 70. If he peaks, if he reaches his ultimate goal, like his ultimate ceiling, and it seems to me watching him that he's capable of getting there. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing. What's really impressed me this year is to watch him slug the ball all over the field. Today he put one over the right fielder's head and it bounced off the wall. He got a triple out of it. He got a double down. He pulled a double down the line. And that's just what he's doing. Line drives over the shortstop's head. He's just doing everything right now, and it feels special. It feels like a kid who took that next step in his development this offseason. And, the next question after that is, well, then when do we see Wynn at AA? And for me, I want them to be as cautious with Mason as possible. I would not like for them to do it any sooner than June 1st, but if they do, I wouldn't even be upset about it. I want him to continue to have success before they push him to AA. And, maybe continue to show a little bit of the advanced slug that we've seen pretty much since the beginning of the year. It'd be nice to just see him continue to do that at least through May and then get into June a little bit and then reevaluate and try to get him up to AA. Hopefully in the meantime, Delvin Perez, who's been taking good at bats and taking walks, can incorporate some more hits and earn a promotion to AAA in the process. But he's special. And more special than I realized, and I thought he was pretty special last year.
All right, thanks.
Awesome, Graybush. Hey, you have any other thoughts? Any other ideas? Anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, I mean, if you have time, could you give us your thoughts on Gordon Graceffa?
I love me some Gordon Graceffa. Yeah, what I'll do real fast, Graybush, is I'll tell you thank you for the question, and then I'm actually going to remove you from speaker. Again, thank you very much for moving you from speaker. I'll give my thoughts on Gordon Graceffa, and then we will end this little prospect Macarena. I've kind of been on Gordon a little bit since last year. I love his fastball changeup. We know from all the reporting that he can get that fastball up to 100, and it's a high spin pitch. We know his changeup is high spin. Well, it's not high spin because it's a changeup, but it's like the appropriate, like perfect spin. It's and those two pitches alone are enough for him to get by completely dominating high A. He's beyond the high A level. I'm not one to be over aggressive with prospects, but it's time probably to get Graceffa to AA. They'll probably wait till June, I would think. But look, he's got a slider too that it has half of the movement of the changeup and like half of the movement of the fastball, but he just doesn't command it as well, and he doesn't need to throw it as much at this level. But we've seen him, and I gift a bunch of it. We're starting to see him use it a little bit more, and that's a positive. Look, Gordon Graceffa is a major leaguer. If he stays healthy, he's a major leaguer. He's got a quirky delivery that people freak out about, but I'll remind them that if they ignore the fact that he steps backwards, and if they pay attention to from the minute he plants and turns, they'll notice that all of his mechanics are perfectly acceptable. They're perfectly natural. There's not an issue there. But he's a major leaguer if he stays healthy. It's just the question will be, how quickly the Cardinals push him through the organization, because there's a real situation in which they push him through the organization and he gets the Andre Palante, Ryan Helsley, role where he's pitching in the high leverage of the bullpen as a rookie and then moving on. Now, if that slider continues to develop, then you're talking about, I don't mean this to oversell it or overstate it, but I do personally believe that Gordon Graceffa has a real chance of being, what we might traditionally think of as a number 2 or a number 3 starting pitcher. Somebody who, he's not going to be like, I don't think he has the talent of Jack Flaherty. I think he has deception. I think his fastball changeup is really good. I think that slider's coming along. But I think that I think he's something more than just a guy who should be pigeonholed to a relief role. And I think he's more than just a back of the rotation starter. His stuff is too good. It's too measurable. It's too lively for that. So, but yeah, my thought is that he's dominating a level he's too good for. I'm anxious to see what it looks like when he gets to AA. And hopefully that's soon, because I think he's up for the challenge. As a matter of fact, I'm probably wrong here, but I think he might even be up for the AAA challenge, to be honest. I'm so impressed with that fastball. And when you do the juxtaposition, when you compare him to Austin Love, who is pretty much all fastball, and they're both at the same level right now, that should give you some idea. Now, Austin Love's velocity has been diminished. He can get up to like 96 to 98, but he's been throwing mostly 92, between like 91, 94 kind of in his starts. But, Austin Love's fastball is his marquee pitch. His slider can get some extra play too, but like the fastball is his marquee pitch, and he can't get away with nearly half of what Graceffa can get away with. And I think that helps to paint a comparative picture about just how good Gordon Graceffa is and is capable of being. I didn't get to see his start last night. I'm actually going to fire it up and watch that while I'm watching Springfield and the Cardinals tonight. But that's it. That's all for the Prospect Macarena on May 15th, 2022. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. Again, you can re-listen to this on the Birds on the Black podcast network or on Charlie Marlowe's YouTube page. Subscribe to that and help Charlie out. If he gets clicks, then that money goes to charity, at least on my end. So that's a really cool thing. Give that a bunch of clicks. And for everybody at Birds on the Black, everybody at Prospects After Dark, for Charlie Marlowe, for Cardinals Gifts, for Birds on the Black, I am Kyle Reis. We thank you again for being in this. We love the question asking. We love the participation.